Hello everyone, my name is Paula O'Donohoe, the author of the lesson plan on the Comfort Women's statue in Seoul on the Monumental Challenges Toolkit. Today we'll go through the lesson plan exploring how to teach about sexual violence by using the example of the Comfort Women. Also, sexualized violence is one of the most common acts of aggression in conflict. It is also one of the most under-addressed in history classes. This does not mean that students are not familiar with it, as they might encounter these stories on the news and social media, especially since the eruption of the Me Too movement. And if we don't address these topics in the classroom, it might be that misconceptions and fake news fool students' knowledge. To begin, it is important to acknowledge that teachers and students might have lived experience of sexual violence. This has provoked some educators to be reticent to touch upon these issues due to a lack of training on how to deal with trauma in the classroom. Although you might feel unprepared, the solution should not be not to include these histories. You can use strategies such as avoiding bringing graphic materials and allowing students to leave the room if they feel triggered. Focusing on the sociopolitical and historical context of sexualized violence allows us to highlight how it is dependent on societal factors that perpetuate unequal power relations. In addition, by bringing these untold stories, such as cases of sexual abuse in concentration camps during World War II, we can challenge traditional ideas, such as how men are also victims, and highlight the role sexualized violence has played in historical conflicts. Comfort women is an euphemistic term for the women trafficked and forced into sexual slavery by the Japanese Imperial Armed Forces during the Asia-Pacific War. Military brothels are not Japanese specificity, but this case is different for several reasons. It targeted young girls, mostly aged 14 to 18, and it was a systematic policy carried out by the Japanese authorities. It was based on deception and kidnapping, considered as slavery practices. The estimated number of victims is unknown, varying from 20,000 to nearly 500,000. Most of the women were from occupied territories, including Korea, China, the Philippines, Thailand, Malaysia, Taiwan, and other occupied territories. In 1991, Kim Hak-soon became the first survivor to speak publicly, and her testimony helped others to share their experiences. The Japanese government initially denied any responsibility, but following historian Yoshiaki Yoshimi's investigation, Prime Minister Kiichi Miyazawa issued an apology. This has since triggered a counter-reaction from the right-wing movements in the region. Since its unveiling in 2011, the Statue of Peace in Seoul has been a source of inspiration and contestation, resulting in a proliferation of replica statues around the world. Although numerous testimonies and visual sources are available, they might be harder for students to digest. Therefore, we propose focusing on the statues. By having students focus on designing a monument, they can gain a different perspective on the topic, moving beyond the victimizing act or more gruesome details. Students can develop their analytical and critical knowledge together with their creative thinking, observation and comparison skills as they design the monument in groups. At the same time, they can understand the power and importance that monuments have and the importance of representation. Thus, it would allow them to have a more critical understanding of history and to apply their knowledge creatively. The Comfort Women statues might be the most well-known monument dedicated to victims of sexual violence, but they are not the only ones. There are some dedicated to sexual abuses during World War II and other conflicts. Thus, the lesson can be adapted to different contexts. Although it might be a difficult topic to discuss, we encourage you to unearth these unknown stories with your students.